All right, Cousin Tone. We are here with the commish of all commissioners, the sexiest Philadelphia Flyers hockey card collector this side of the Mississippi. I'm talking about Neil Devlin, a.k.a. Irish Flyers Collector, original member of the Cousins Collectibles Wolfpack. Welcome, Neil, to the Cousins Collectibles podcast. How you doing, sir?
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show.
Excellent.
I'm here.
So Neil's been with us for a hot minute. You know, he's been doing his thing in the background. You could say a silent partner when it comes to the Cousins Collectibles Wolfpack. And he was on full display when we got to the National. So he was doing his thing. You know, he was making sure that the Cousins were taken care of. Cousin Tony, Cousin Oz, he got us on point as far as getting the game plan together when we were trying to figure out how exactly we were going to tackle the National. So, you know, he does a lot of things. You know, we met Neil a while ago. We've been friends for a while. And like I said, we started this basically card collecting between Tony and I. And we come to find out, hey, Neil does it too. Neil did it a while ago. He got back into it, and we're all doing it full force. So, you know, like I said, welcome, brother, to the Wolfpack. And we appreciate everything that you've been doing for us. So, you know, tell us about, you know, your background, how you started collecting. And like I said, I know you did a lot of stuff when you were younger, took a big break, and now you're back. But let's go on your backstory. Who is the Irish Flyers Collector?
So thank you. So I started, like you said, when I was a kid. Probably I thought about it, pinpoint probably a year like 1987. I was big into hockey back then as a fan watching the Flyers, and I started picking up cards here and there in a store, and it's all top stuff, and just get a couple packs off the registers with mom and dad at the store, and, you know, kind of get them, and I picked those up. And I just kind of was real basic back then. I wasn't into boxes just yet. But then I started getting into it a little bit more as I started mowing lawns and getting my own money and riding my bikes to the local card shops, and had a shop that I used to go to where I lived. Ride my bike over there, my backpack, fresh with my lawn mowing allowance, and blow it all. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it back then just because of the pictures of the players. Hockey wasn't really that great as it was, you know, and now it's still, you know, not so hot right now. I know it's there. It's the redheaded stepchild of the hobby, I guess, just like it is in the sports world, but. You know, the cards, like the pictures, you know, the players weren't that, you know, they'd catch them standing there on the side, looking to the side, and, you know, they weren't cool action shots like they are today. So they've definitely come a long way. But so I would buy boxes and just rip packs, you know, anywhere. I didn't know the difference between a hobby pack and a retail or a hobby box or retail box back then. Mm-hmm. I don't know if there was much difference, but I'm pretty sure there was. And I would buy boxes and just rip and I was even into basketball too, and other things as well. I mean, I had Star Wars cards. I had, you know, and I probably got those when I was younger too, younger than 13. But yeah, it was fun. And one of the cool things I did with them was I'd get them. Back then, it was pretty simple with getting some. You know, I just, like, as a kid, I was just I'd write a letter to the player. Like, I'd pick a player on every team. And that was like my little summer project, my little project. And I pick one player on every single team, and I'd stick the card in the envelope. And I don't even know if I had, like, you know, top loaders or any of that stuff. I would just put the card in the envelope, pick one player every team. And I ironically have some pretty cool autos from players that sent them back. I mean, I'd probably say like 70% of those cards came back to me with a player auto, just mailing it to the team with the player's name on it. That was so cool. That's what I loved about the sport. You know, players were still down to earth, and they weren't that big just yet. Even the stars. Like, I've got a Patrick Roy rookie, or not rookie, but a Patrick Roy card from 87 or 87, 88, and it doesn't matter. But problem is he signed it in pen.
That's a no-no.
And then kept collecting boxes, rip and wax, and I guess I fell off probably in the mid 90s, 96. Started in the college years, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Started teetering off. Was focusing on more things in life, and just fell off of it for a little bit. And
so you just missed the whole PMG run then. Your favorite cards.
Yeah, my favorite cards. I wish I had some more of those. I missed all that stuff, like the late 90s, the 2000s. But
yeah, that's when collecting was at its finest, other than the junk wax. But yeah, go ahead.
I would see nostalgia wax.
Yeah.
I've been taught. My sensei told me it's nostalgia wax.
Yes, sir.
So I was heavily into it during the one of the worst periods, I guess.
Yeah, we know. We could tell, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I just I loved it, and I was I still kept everything. Some of it was scattered all over the place, like a lot of us. This is at mom's. This is dad's basement, whatever, and so I was always looking for some. I was trying to find them all. I had my really important ones with me, my Lindros, my Flyers, my Gretzkys, my the stars, my binders. I had that. I found that in the basement, but I was always looking like, where the heck are all those Jordans that I used to have, and Jose Canseco's and all that stuff, and Jim Abbott. I was a big fan of those guys in baseball. So after I started getting back into it with you guys, probably January, February, I guess it was.
Yeah,
right. That's when I started dipping the toe back in the pool, and
we'd get random pictures. I found it. I found my Jordan.
Oh yeah,
I actually pulled this. I ripped this when I was a kid. I was like, oh, that's dope. So he would, constantly send us pictures of all the, the cards that he was looking for. Like I said, other than the good stuff, the Gretzkys and all that. And we're gonna get to all those, stories. But so you collected. Now you collected not only cards, you collect a ton of stuff, right? When you were younger.
Yeah. I had I was a child of divorced parents, so and they were from the time I was 3. So 2 of everything, 2 birthdays, 2 Christmases, 2 Easters, and I think I probably did like a lot of kids back then develop the Dad, hey, can we go to Kitty City? Like, oh yeah, and I was like, Dad, I got a whole bunch of these things. He's like, you can get 3. Oh, Mom let me get 4 last time. All right, you can get 4, or flip it. And I was pretty devious as a kid, I guess. But
yeah, you found a hack. You found a hack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A toy hack.
I was in the toy department. What do you want from me? But I collected everything and played with it. So it wasn't really collecting back then. It was acquiring and playing.
Yeah.
But G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, Mask, you name it, GoBots. I had some of them, all that stuff. So, and I was a kid, privileged kid. I kind of got it all. I was, sure parents were divorced, but they overcompensated for that, and I acquired a lot of stuff, and I don't know where it is. I know where it went. I went to my cousins. My genuine cousins, not you guys.
What are you talking about?
and then it disappeared from there. But because they got played with hard back then, So, but I had the Tomcat airplane from G.I. Joe, but the big one. I don't know how I lost it, but I'm probably one of the few people that lost a 7-foot or 6-foot toy. The USS Flat.
I'm gonna tell you what, Neil. These things just disappear into the ether, bro. Because dude, I had everything, like all kinds of toys, and I have no idea where they went. I don't know how I ended up with one damn He-Man out of like the hundreds of toys that I had. That's it. I'm just like, this is crazy.
That's the thing that bugs me out, that you only have like one out of everything. But Neil, let me ask you, where'd you get the idea for the mail-in autographs? Like, how'd that all come about? Like, how do you
I just thought of it. I think it was probably, honestly, when I went to my first Flyers games, I got the programs of the Flyers team yearbook, and I think on the back cover or back inside, it had all the NHL team addresses, and I had all these cards, and I was just like, well, half the times it would be players that I mildly knew of, because at that time I really didn't care anything other than the Flyers. Like, I knew the Flyers, I knew the Oilers, and that was pretty much, because those were the teams back then. Early 80s coming in, I knew them before. But I just thought of it, and because I saw a list of addresses, and I just put the player's name, care of, Philadelphia Flyers, and like I said, so many. A lot of times it was the guy either had a funny name, or his picture on his card was cool. Like one I know that I got, I'll never forget it, is Zarly Zalapski. You know, that poor kid. He needed somebody to send him and show him some love. He was always last in line at school. You know, so,
Zarly Zalapski.
Yeah, hockey names, baby, hockey names.
That's crazy.
Gotta love it. Gotta love hockey, baby.
That's wild.
This is the first hockey episode for you guys. I'm a
It is. It is. Yeah, we're kind of maiden voyage on the hockey, but now
we're hockey virgins.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like Zalewski or whatever his name is. I gotta make a note of that. See,
he's not Mike Jaminski, but
exactly. Now, it's funny because you and I met we met through collecting.
Yes,
and you know what I mean. Talk about that story and how this came about, because it's crazy. We've come full circle because we met through collecting, stopped collecting, and now here we are again.
Yeah. So, geez, yeah, that was crazy because it's one of the great stories I love to tell people when how close we are now. But so yeah, I've always had that addictive personality as far as collecting things. I like to have stuff and toys, and so I was into the McFarlane sports picks. My wife lovingly calls them my sports Barbies, and she always teased me about them. But so I was into collecting those and just buying the sports figures because they're awesome. I mean, they got most people know them who collect stuff, and I just bought a few here and there. And start going to their website, looking at stuff, and I'm like, "Ooh, what's this forum thing?" I'm looking, I'm like, "What's a forum?" And so I go on there, and then there's a message board, and they've got different message boards on there for their different collectors. Some they did movie stuff, McFarlane's, they did pop culture stuff. They still do it today. So I go on there and sign up, username. I don't know. I like being Irish, and I love the Flyers. There we go. That was really the first time that ever came out.
So that's how it came about.
That's how it came about.
I'm thinking it's this elaborate story, and it's just
that's how that part came out. So yeah, I don't know. I was unoriginal. I don't know, but it's the two things that I love in my life that about me. It describes me as my proud Irish heritage and Flyers. So
nice.
Anyway, I'm on the message board for do whatever. Your name, your profile name's there with your city and state and stuff there. You start to establish who different people are. That was addictive in itself too. That message board, man. Just you go on there and you'd be on your computer and just messages. And it's the Instagram of today. That message board of forum. So
yeah, big time. That thing was like at the time, and I'll let you continue, but real quick, like at the time, there'd be deals going on, and you'd see your private message thing pop up, and it was 24/7, man. That because at the time those McFarlanes were hot.
Yeah.
So it was like, dude, stuff was moving. Guys were buying cases, figures, all kinds of stuff, and it was just
befriending guys, befriending the stock guy at Toys R Us, knowing what day deliveries come. It was pretty deep. But anyway, so we'd be on there talking stuff. You start to establish who's what what they're fans of, and ran into this guy who lived near me, and he was from the same area, and he likes the Eagles. And I was like, oh, I like the Eagles. So we would talk, and it turns out it was cousin Tony.
Look at that.
He wasn't cousin Tony back then, but yeah. So we started, messaging and just having fun back then. Oh, you like the Eagles? Yeah, I love the Eagles. You like not so much. We like the Phillies. We like fantasy football. You love fantasy football, and that was that too. So that was another hook. So we became friends on there.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. When we tell this story, people are like, we became friends on the internet. We didn't know each other at all. That could have went sideways, it could have went real bad. But I remember, like, we met up a couple of times in the parking lot of Walmart doing deals, like, I don't know, buying figures or whatever it was. And now I think back, now you think about guys doing deals for cards like that. I'm like, man, I've been doing that, back in the day, like nothing. So that's not awkward.
No. So it was we even had a few groups, like people going to a Phillies game. We went to I think the first time we met was maybe at a Phillies game, or I forget if it was the Phils game or Eagles training camp, but because you were working third shift back then.
Yeah, I don't miss those days, but it was dope, man. Because like I said, that it was a real tight knit community. You had the message board and kind of like I said, it's like Instagram today, same thing, but it was just a little bit different. And just here we are today, and it's like I said, it's a super not super weird, but it's just like really, but
it is a crazy small world. Like, well, the one we met at the first, I remember meeting up at Eagles training camp. It was T.O.'s first year when he was there, and that place was a circus that year. That was the first. I think that was the first time we met, but that was crazy, man. That was an absolute circus at training camp, and appropriately so. And then we went to a Phillies game, like I said. But and over the years we became closer, and obviously with the texting and stuff like that becoming a big thing. So now we're even closer, and doing fantasy football leagues together. Probably one of my favorite other stories about peek behind the curtain with cousin Tony is with having he'd be at the house here doing fantasy football leagues with us, and he'd bring his kids over one year, and so we had all of our kids about the same age, and his are a little bit older, and he brings his daughters over, and they comes over, and our kids are playing with them. And somebody says to my daughter, it's like, "Oh, Delaney, who's your friend there?" She goes, "I don't know, but I think she's my cousin." I don't know. I think she's my cousin. So, ironically enough, so
how about that, huh?
They call foreshadowing.
Yeah, foreshadowing. So it was just kind of funny. So ever since then, we've always been referring to him as cousin or Uncle Tony.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what comparing those McFarlanes, what did you learn as far as those, and what you apply them to cards today? Tips, tricks, mistakes you might have made, might have not, whatever. Just any similarities, or how would you go about comparing the two?
I can't understand why McFarlane's dropped off.
Yeah.
Starting lineups are still a thing, and they're they're like some third-rate grading company versus PSA. I don't get the differences, but don't go full bore. I guess I bought everything in the series that they came out with. Now, granted, they were 8 to 9 per set every series for everything, but I bought everything. And right now, I got boxes of stuff downstairs of old players that are nobodies anymore. So. And I went heavy and hard. It was every single set in the baseball, every single player in the football, every single player in NBA, hockey. And I think it's just a matter of, just collect what you like. Like you guys have said 1,000 times, and I've kind of adopted a lot ever since coming back into it. Collect what you like. You're not good. If you're in it to get rich, then that's fine, and you're taking risks. But you got to have something that means something here for you to like it and to really care about it. And that's why I think it's like I've always enjoyed that with all the collectibles, through my life. When I was a kid, it was toys, and I loved it, and I played with it, and we'd set them up, and we'd play at my friend's house and my house. But same thing with the cards, man. You go too fast, kind of like with us at National. We walked in, we hit that floor, we go, oh, look over here, oh, look over here. It's like, hang on. We gotta get the path going here.
Yeah. You had that life caddy thing in full effect.
Papa Neil.
Yeah, I was just as guilty initially because I was just like, oh. I'm like, the head on a swivel.
Dude,
and then you pull one way, you go that way. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to keep up with who's where. I'm like,
Well, now that we're on that subject, thoughts when you first walked in. And Tony asked me, and I asked Tony, like, what were your thoughts when you first walked into the National? This was your first one, right? Or had you gone before?
First, I went to one, but it was literally I just stood in line for McFarlane figures and then out the door. Then when they had the releases, so this was the first one I went to for a purpose of looking at cards, memorabilia, that type of stuff. So this would, I would still say this is my first. My first thought was probably, the floor, just seeing how big it was. I mean, you look at the map beforehand online, you get it, and you don't comprehend how massive it was.
Yeah,
it's like, how are we going to do this? And like you said on the show the other night, it's like trying to figure out where the stage was took 45 minutes. Like it shouldn't take that long to find a stage.
Yeah.
So
the main stage.
the main stage, yeah, the main stage, and getting all the the what, all those looks. So, um, I but I was overwhelmed initially, and then I was excited. Like I was like, okay, this is on. Like we are. This is going to be a task. It's going to be fun. I think I was up for it, and luckily for me, I had a plan for what I was going for. If I didn't know what I was looking for, I probably would have been overwhelmed, not have been able to cover as much ground as we did. But that helped out a lot, having that plan in mind, what I was going for.
You know what else? It just popped in my head that could have been dangerous about being at National is that there was nobody there to say no. Don't buy that. we were there with a bunch of
they were encouraging it.
Yeah, we were there with a bunch of enablers, so nobody was like, other than I think of, but I'm like, damn, man, that could have really went
sideways.
Yeah, a little bit. But
yeah, no, that was good. But I loved it. I loved just seeing it. The sights, the sounds, and the lights and this, everything. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So how was the hockey at the National? How would you rate it compared to everything else?
I was, I guess mildly. I was at first a Friday. I mean, I remember saying to you guys, I was more impressed than I was that how much hockey they had. But it started to feel like it was teetering off a bit. I enjoy football a lot. That's probably would be my second vice if I were to fall back into something. But all the other ones I'm not really heavily into. If I did baseball, I'd do somebody. So that, to me, that National I felt was very baseball heavy, which I did not expect. I thought it was going to be football upside down, every single table. Not saying there wasn't a lot, but I felt it was a very heavy baseball show. That's not a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying that's just what I felt it was.
Yeah.
Hockey, though, there was some good amount of it. I think we only saw one full vendor that was just only hockey. Other than that, there was a lot of vendors who had like a case or a section of a case which had hockey, but that was cool to me, seeing a lot of the heat that they had. Like there was some modern heat. There's a lot of good vintage cards there, so that was cool to me, seeing a lot of cards like the Gordie Howes, the Bobby Orrs. Like that's stuff I have never laid eyes on before. So that I enjoyed that part of it too, being able to see these nice new old cards, vintage cards, seeing the modern cards that I'm kind of into, but only on specific players. But seeing the Austin Matthews, seeing the Connor McDavids, even the Crosbys, and just some of the new Trevor Zegras, a lot of these up and comers that are getting some major action right now. Their cards are like they're like the Lucas of the hobby.
Yeah. So those guys right there you just mentioned, those are the guys that obviously everyone knows Sidney Crosby, and but like who are the like you said, the young up and comers now in hockey that you can compare to the Luka?
McDavid's pretty much supplanted himself now. Cale Makar is probably the sexiest thing in the hockey hobby right now.
Who's he play for?
Defenseman for the Colorado Avalanche that just won the Stanley Cup. Makar won the Norris Trophy as the league's best defenseman. He won the Conn Smythe for Stanley Cup and playoff MVP, and he won the Stanley Cup. So that boy went home with some hardware. So his cards right now are probably the hottest thing. Like you need oven mitts picking those things up right now. And his values are going through the roof right now. And even though right now this is the dip, like right now is the dip in the hockey world. And this is where I'm like, gimme, trying to buy more and more. But yeah, it's a dip, and it's going to bounce right back up. And it's once the season comes up on October.
So your strategy then, it's the dip. Like, what are your plans?
Well, right now I'm going to be taking a little bit easier after National, but
we'll get into that. But if let's just say if you had I'm still
picking up little stuff, and that's the way I've always been. You guys have known that I'm small beans, I pick up the cards that I like. I'm kind of not a completist. I have my PCs of those guys and my particular players, and that's all I really go for. And I don't care if it's slabbed, raw, I don't want them colored on and creased and all that stuff. But I mainly, most of my stuff, I mean, 99.8% of my stuff's raw. And I don't, that's because when I collected before, grading was kind of just being talked about. It didn't exist, so that's where. So I'm still okay buying raw stuff for me, and it's.
So, what are your thoughts on grading, Neil? I know you have some particular.
You beat me to it.
Some thoughts.
I felt myself walk into that. One.
Sean.
I think it was. Hang on, you guys sit back. I got this. I think it's a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. It's a good thing because nothing was more frustrating when I first collected. When you had this card, when you got the McGuire Team USA baseball card. I was like, I'm rich. And you go to the card dealer and they're like, well, this is wrong, that's wrong. They're like, what are you talking about? You don't know what the heck, They just trashed the card. And I was always like, I'm never going to win. You're never going to win, So it's a good thing in that sense where you finally get some like professionals and experts that will examine the card and, give you grades. And I've actually learned a lot from shows like, obviously from you guys, other shows that I listen to.
You can say it. Go ahead. What type of shows are you talking about?
What's that? Like also like
your favorite show.
You guys, and I like the Hockey Cards Gong Show. But those
there
guys,
you go. Shout out to the Hockey Cards Gong Show.
Shout out to Troy and Josh, but they do a lot. But and right now I think I don't know. It just if people want to collect slab stuff, that's great. That's a fair thing. But I think there's just maybe there'll be a sway back. I don't know, like, maybe it's the junk slab era soon. I don't know, like, I just get a vibe that it's just like too much stuff is slabbed anymore, and this slab's good, that slab's not, and this company's good and this company's not, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. It's like they're all professionals to some degree, but that's just
the dealers and even the buyers, they need to be able to trash something, since now everything's slab, so now they got to figure out the next level. How do I trash this person's slab so that I can get it cheaper, even though SGC, PSA, HGA, you name it, Beckett, they're all professionals, but they got to there's got to be a hierarchy of grading, and then people can go ahead and say, that's nothing compared to this. I'll give you 500 instead of 5,000.
Yeah, that's always the way it has to be, I guess, in the hobby. But I'm still content doing my stuff now. When I'm doing when I want to jump at something big, you're darn right. I want something slabbed, and I want to make sure that it's legit. That's the other thing, the legitimacy. They legitimize the investment you're making. And if I was spending some of that money, like the Luca and the Cale Makar and those cards, I would want it legitimized.
The Roberto Clemente rookie card.
Clemente, yes.
Yeah, I definitely would not. I mean, I'm still like, Corky showed me a bunch of raw Clementes, and I'm still not there. I'm like, dude, you got a bigger set of cojones than I do, because I'm just not there yet.
Bro, when I think it just brings me back to the past, like Neil had mentioned it, like when you had these raw cards and you tried to sell them or take them to the hobby shop, and like you said, you thought you were going to get paid, and then they would just trash your card. At least with the it being slabbed up, one, it's authenticated, and two, now you have at least a starting point. If it's a 7, an 8, or 9, or a 10, you can see the range at where it is. The market goes up and down, but with it being slabbed up, you can actually say, okay, I know for a fact I did my homework. This is worth, on the low end, 700, and that's what I'll take for it. So that helps to me, and I never want to go back to where I'm just dealing in raw cards and then people are just crapping all over your, oh, look at that corner, that's really soft, or look at that edge, or look at, hold on, let me bust out my thing. Nope, then everybody's a grader themselves. I can't have that.
Go ahead, Neil.
No, I get that. I'm the same way. But my problem is half my stuff, I don't let it go. I don't flip it. That's my problem. I'm an acquirer. I guess I have to say I'm a card collector. I'm not a card seller. I'm trying to be, but nobody wants this junk wax era stuff. But
it's tough.
It's tough.
Yeah. You said about the slabs. Like when I first got back into it, I had never seen. I didn't know anything about no slabs or nothing. So it was weird as hell to me to see the car. I'm like, why are they in these containers? Like this is weird. I was used to put them in the shoebox thing and have them like
Yep.
that. So
Yep, that's how I found some of my stuff just a couple months ago when I found those Jordans. They were in a box, in shoe boxes in a box, and I found all my Jordans, all my old baseball cards, even my old Hockey Beckett magazines, which you guys know on my IG. I started deciding to post pictures of them, kind of because it was weird. I got so nostalgic about just pulling those magazines out because the covers, the hockey art on the inside covers, the back covers. And it was almost devastating though when you went. Don't look at the price guide pages because you can look at those, you're just like, oh my gosh, I could have gotten that for that. So, but it's just reading some of the articles back then. So I even got nostalgic about that, and that's why I started posting some pictures of the Beckett Hockey Monthly. So,
those are
that stuff. I get that joy all over again seeing those cards.
Those are like works of art. Now I was touched on the Hobby Wolf Pack. And we bounce ideas off of each other and stuff like that. But how do you think, like, how beneficial and how important is having and being part of a Hobby Wolf Pack?
I think it's probably the most critical thing and the most beneficial thing that I've experienced since jumping back in. And I had a couple of friends from school back then, but I think that's also probably why I got out of it. That probably was one of the reasons why I was done, because nobody was doing it back in the late 90s. That I was friends with this. We got to be grown-ups back then. It was like getting to the tail end of college, got to be a grown-up. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess this is going to the side. But so I didn't have anybody else that did it. So it's part of the reason. The enabling, the teaching, the bouncing stuff off of each other. I mean, I can't. Heck, I've known Oz now too. What, 11 years, 12 years now? And that's crazy to me as well. And I think I've talked more to you in texts and stuff like that in the last 8 months than we have in the whole prior 11 years. Because before we would just talk trades every now and again. Now I'm just like, it's taken our friendship to a completely different level to me, and I think that's so great about it. The hobby,
because to me you were the commissioner. You know what I mean? So it's like whenever I had a problem, I would go to you, or I would know that whatever question I had or a problem, you'd probably be like, we're just gonna look over that. Whatever you want to do, it's not gonna happen. So
the evil.
This guy's a hard ass. This guy is a hard ass. You know what I mean? If it's not written in that damn book that he has, all the the bylaws and the regulations and his, it's like, well, sorry, sir, you're out of luck. You are shit out of luck.
You can't. That trade's not approved. That trade is not approved.
But that's how it's got to be. When you're a commissioner, you let somebody, you bend the rules for somebody, then you got to do it for that other person. So, you play it by the book. I can't argue with that.
Firm but fair, right?
There you go.
So but the Wolfpack, like, you guys have been tremendous to me, and meeting other people through IG and even at nationals. Like, my head was spinning too, because I felt like I was meeting a couple celebrities through you guys listening to shows, and it was cool. But I really think that's what adds a ton to it for me. And without having friends in a Wolfpack, I would find it very hard to be doing this again right now. I don't know if I would. I don't know if I would be doing it again.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's go ahead, Haas. But
I was just saying I agree totally. It's because when I started, like I said, I'm just hiding here in my basement, trying to make sure I'm not getting caught by my wife and not having anybody to talk about it. So it was cool at first, just that excitement of getting mail days. But then when you don't have anybody to share it with, or like you said, bounce ideas off, it kind of like that fever kind of wears off. So when finally Tony came on board, it was like, yes, finally got somebody else. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not the only idiot out here spending money on this craziness. So
yeah,
you got to cue the speech from The Hangover. You were a wolf pack of one. Yeah. But and I actually I shared the text message that you sent us.
Yes,
the last show, and cheering on, dude, when we're gonna get into how you picked up a really big card, but seeing your buddy, your friend, whoever it is, picking up a card or doing something, and you feel just as happy for them as you would for yourself, maybe even more so.
I-
Because I'm like, sometimes, we do these deals, and after you're done, you might be exhausted. You don't even get a chance to enjoy it.
yeah,
But,
you're mentally drained.
yeah. But then if you're watching from the sideline and you see your boy like, yo, he's been wanting this card for a while, and look, he got it. Look at that. Oh man, it's
Mm-hmm.
dope. Let's go. And you're just so hyped. So having, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, whatever it is, to share in that joy is super, like, it's just exciting all around. I love it.
That's
Yeah.
what made. That's honestly. That's what I could have gone home with nothing, and I had a blast just going to national with you guys, and keeping my eyes peeled. Like Oz, you didn't have a strategy. You didn't have something specific. Like your first big day purchase was those $14 of Michael Jackson cards, right?
Yeah.
But I knew what Tone was looking for. So as we're walking and scanning tables, I'm not just looking for mine. I'm looking for his too. And same thing with you, Oz. You guys would keep, hey, Neil, come over here. Here's, come on over.
Mhm.
So like that added so much to it, and I was excited, when we were at the trade night and Tone was working the first one, and the one that didn't go through. And remember, back next to you, Oz, we're like, oh, how close do you think he's doing? I don't know. I think he's a little bit close. And it was really exciting, and but when you guys picked up those cards, man, I was just like, hell yeah, like that was awesome. Like I was like, look at those pieces, man, those are sweet cards. It was kind of like like that one dealer Tony towards the end of Friday when he's like, hey, can I help you with anything? I'm like, no, I'm just living vicariously through him right now. I'm good.
That's so true. Yeah, it's like you're almost like a team. I mean, you see your teammate score, whatever, make a good play, and you're happy for them. And this is that. I mean, like.
And that's even like when you go ahead, for example, Tony, with your big purchase, when you're putting out that type of money or trading, cards that you've been building, you had that whole run of Clementes that you used with the cash. So when you make a deal like that, not only is it like exhausting, but then you want to, did I do the right thing? You don't want to have buyer's remorse. You know what I mean? To have somebody there to say, dude, that was awesome. Good job. You know what I mean? You didn't overpay, you know what I mean? And the purchase that you made was legit and you're good to go. That's your grail. And so you have that support there. That helps a ton, because if you're by yourself and you do that, sometimes you're like, oh, what did I do? So it's always good to have that second, third voice there. Like I said, that wolf pack to cheer you on.
That is a good point. That's a good point, because sometimes you make a deal and you're excited for a second, and then that whole, Monday morning quarterback thing starts kicking in. You're like, nah, man, it's cool. Enjoy, you got it. And then you're like, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. This is whatever. Let's get to the next deal. But I couldn't agree more. And then, if anybody's out there and they're that lone wolf, reach out. You know what I mean? Because sometimes, and you bring a different, and like you said, you had that learning curve when you first came in, as we all do. And sometimes you come at it from a different perspective, and you might ask a question or make a point that we're kind of like in this tunnel and we're only looking at it one way, the new way. You might like, well, why isn't it this, or why isn't it that? And you're like, oh, I didn't think of that. And just different perspectives. Doesn't matter if you're new or you've been in it for 50 years. I'm sure that a newbie could help out an old vet, and vice versa. So it's cool to have different points of view within that little wolf pack.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I really can't add much more to it. I think that's perfect. I was surprised that you were willing to trade away or sell all the other Roberto Clementes that you had. But that takes. But like you said, that it's easier to go back and get those. And you know what? You might even go back and get a higher grade next one. So if those are the easier ones to acquire, tip of the hat, golf clap for you, because that would have been hard to me. Like I look at all mine and I'm just like, oh, my baby, my precious. But I'm evolving. Like it would probably take a lot for me to unload some cars, but to get that one, I think I would have done the same.
Well, yeah, don't think that I want to have them right back, like right now. But I had to come to grips with that a little bit, and
sure,
we'll piece it back together.
Well, didn't you try to?
I tried to get some of them back. I tried to get some of them back. I was like, hey, by the way, But it's like, yeah, the guy's like, I was like, no worries, I said we'll put Humpty Dumpty back together again. It's
There
all
you
good.
go. You got the most important part. You got the brain.
That's the hard one. Yeah, that was the good one. But yeah, I
So
told you.
speaking of grails, okay, we want to find out how you, Neil, slept your way to a grail.
I did. I slept my way to a grail sports card. That's it's self-explanatory, isn't it,
Now,
guys?
who did you sleep with?
No, not that kind.
Oh, something else.
Yeah. So, I'll give you the story. So, my wife was telling me for years, she's like, you're snoring, bugging me. And she's like, and you actually stop breathing when you snore and you stop breathing. I'm like, I don't know. I'm asleep. She's like, go get checked, go to the doctor and get checked. And I was like, So, but I started creeping up to my mid 40s and now I'm at the upper 40s at the end of this year. I'm like, all right, got to be a big boy and go to the doctor. And so I went to the respiratory specialist and get checked for sleep apnea. And they gave me all these cool, if anybody's done it, God bless you, because it's not fun. But I took the stuff home I had to wear these things for 3 nights and get checked for sleep apnea. And lo and behold, they said, yeah, you're above moderate. And so that was that. And then next thing I know, I get a call probably about a week later from the respiratory doctor asking if I wanted to be enrolled in a clinical trial. And I was like, all right. I used to work in pharma, so I know clinical trials. I'm like, okay, I'm listening. So they said it's real simple. You just got to wear an Apple Watch to bed every night. And then 2 nights, you go Apple Watch for, 21 days, wear to bed. That's it. And open this app. But 2 nights I got to wear this whole getup where I got this thing. I got the pulse oximeter and things in the nose and connected for 2 nights sleep. So to do that for 21 days, they were going to give me. I got $800 was the maximum. I think I walked away with like $650, $700 because I had a couple nights. So I was like, all right, and you guys were saying like, cool, look at that, you're getting some money, getting closer to that grail, Neil, getting closer. So I was like, yeah, that's great. It's good point. And then the night before the last day, the 20th day, the doctor's office calls me again. They're saying, hey, we're really loving your data. Would you do it again? And they're like, full compensation. Would you do it again? I'm like, yes. Yes, because it gets me even closer, right? So I did it a second time. So 42 nights of wearing the Apple Watch to bed with their app, and actually 2, 4, 6, 8 nights wearing that extra get up with the pulse ox and the thing meter here and the things in the nose and the things patched here and the heart and down in the hip. And that part was a little bit annoying because I wasn't comfortable because I had all this stuff on. And I felt like I had to lay on my back the whole time, and I'm a little bit all over the place. So I remember texting you guys pictures where I was looking my finest at nighttime. And so finished that, and lo and behold, I think I got like $700 or $750 for that one. So I was just like, well, all right. I was like, I just kind of wrote the story itself. I'm like, this is all going to the grail chase. And so yeah, that's how I slept my way to my grail. And if anybody hears about these clinical trials and they're paying, go get on them.
Yeah, I remember you as you kept us updated with this thing. I was just like, how can I get down with this thing? It's just like, you're just gonna get paid to sleep,
wear a watch.
To wear a watch. Like,
yeah, they gave me the watch, and yeah, it's an Apple Watch. They gave it to me, and like I said, that was the cool thing because first I wasn't on. I was like, if I gotta wear this thing all day and keep checking stuff in, and I don't want to do that stuff. Like, I got to keep answering questions throughout the day. Am I tired? No, I was like, but I just got to really wear it. Answered 5 questions every night, and they were the same 5 questions every single night, asking me, did I nap at all? How much alcohol did I have? And that was about it.
Did you ever lie?
No, you can't. You can't. You can't. I'm just glad that the question about the alcohol was 0, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 4 or more. So whenever I had those nights, it was typically 4 or more.
Yeah. Or don't remember. That was the button at the bottom.
You know,
But
those were when I had
so
a couple bad nights. When I would go to bed and I forgot to put the thing on, I'm like, oh, that just cost me $15 in my grail money.
So now you collect, and now we fast forward to the national, right? So talk about what your initial target was, how you kind of were looking, or even just comparing and stuff like that, because you did a lot, like I said, and you definitely listened or whatever. I mean, not that we know it all, but you definitely did your due diligence. You had your numbers, you had what you were going for, you had little nuances to look for, things like that. So talk about what your process was once you started looking for your card.
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to that first time you and I went to the Philly card show. When you went there and you said like, oh, I know what I'm going for, and I was like, how the hell do you know that? Like, I didn't get that, because I was just like that was my first kid in a candy store moment too. I didn't know, but this was different. I was making it. My sole purpose was just to go get the grail. I'd done a ton of research about it ahead of time. I wanted to know my comps of what what numbers were, and understand the card more. That was the key. So knowing that stuff and knowing that I was going after one main card was my main calming factor, and being prepared. Like I knew the numbers on basically, and I saved photos on my phone and notes on my phone so that way I could have them. Because I kind of thought maybe the Wi-Fi or service might get wonky. I know what it's like at a sports game, so that's why I was making notes. I was checking the grades, the comps online, card ladder, checking the eBay sale, the sold auctions, and knowing probably 2 or 3 grades about where I was looking, the grade number I was looking at, and then one above, one below, in case I needed to compromise a little bit when push came to shove. But yeah, that was the key factor about understanding. I felt more, like I said, I felt more prepared than anything for this one. I was ready to go to war. Like, you guys had me so pumped up, ready to go to that show. Like, if your car's going to be there, it's this show. And I'm like, damn, they're right.
Yeah.
So, got to be ready. And I don't want to look like the rookie. I don't want to be like, look at this guy.
So, what was the card?
So I was going for an O-Pee-Chee 1979-1980 O-Pee-Chee number 18 card, Wayne Gretzky, as most people know me.
Very nice.
Very nice. One of the most recognizable cards in the hobby. Everybody kind of knows it. It's like the Jordan Fleer, the 86 Fleer, the Mickey 52. It's right there. So on Oz's screen there. So that's a card that I have cherished since 1987, 1988. I've oogled over it, and it didn't matter back then to me which one, but I was kind of going with what the hobby trend is. The hobby trend is like, the O-Pee-Chee was the rare one, because that was the Canadian release, and they obviously there weren't as many, just based off the size of the country. There weren't as many O-Pee-Chee cards that existed because there weren't that many people buying O-Pee-Chee cards back in 1980, versus how many people were buying Topps 1980 hockey cards. So I guess that's why that's the rarer of the two and the more coveted of them. So I knew where I was looking at. I was looking probably for O-Pee-Chee. My goal was hoping for a 4. A stretch if I got a great deal on a 5, and I was hoping I wasn't going to have to settle for 3, but I might have, just to make sure I did it. And that's it. I was going O-Pee-Chee Gretzky rookie, and I did so much research on how to find a good one. I knew I was going graded, and I knew I was going to go after the O-Pee-Chee just because the rarity. I did more research on that card than I think I've ever done, more than on most projects that I did in school. So understanding, registration on the card, how key that was, and that's a hard thing to find on an O-Pee-Chee because their quality up there was just off. It
wasn't off. It was terrible.
was terrible. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I remember we talked about at the show when you guys said you even learned during the show that you're like, we're seeing all these cards and the left edge is always frayed. And that's very common because it was the left edge on that card is always typically frayed. The registration's off because they might have messed up when they're putting the printing plates down. Right. You know, a lot of times the word Edmonton Oilers across the top is a little bit lower. The word Oilers might be lower. So that's something else to look for. The little Oilers logo in the bottom corner, you got to watch for that oil drop. If that's not centered in the little blue circles, or the Oilers logo is general is not centered in that circle. So there's so many things that I learned about that. And I probably that one video you sent me, Tony, from PWCC was a help. I knew a lot of that stuff already about the quality, but I learned a lot about registration. Yeah. So I became picky when we were at the National.
Yes, you did. Now there was a point, at the show where you were kind of a little bummed. It was like, I don't think this is going to happen.
That was Friday morning. Yeah.
Right. Because, we went all day through Thursday. Nothing really big happened. No. And, you're going through it Friday and some of the ones that we found, they either didn't fit the bill or just this for whatever reason, it wasn't going to happen. So you kind of flip the script a little bit.
Yeah. So like you said, we saw plenty of them, right, guys? I mean, you guys saw every single one every one I saw, and we saw plenty of them. You pointed out half of them. But the O-Pee-Chees, there are good fours out there. There are good fours and good threes. You just got to find them. I just wasn't having the ones that hit right. It didn't check the boxes. So but we saw plenty of them. There was a lot of higher graded O-Pee-Chees, which I'm like, not now. So I was like, you know what? We're seeing a lot of good Topps ones here, and Topps is a better quality product. Sure, it's not as chased and coveted as the O-Pee-Chee is, but I kind of put myself back into that 13-year-old body. I was like, what would I have gotten my hands on? I would have gotten my hands on Topps because it was readily available back then. So I'm like, maybe you should do it, maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. Don't get so caught up in the chase and what the hobby is. Is it going to mean less to me? No, not one bit. So, I think I stepped outside, Tone, when we were walking around and when I was in his AI line waiting for him. So I stepped outside. Let me think about it. Let me pray on it and whatever. Let me think about this. Pray to the collective gods and see what's going, and came back in. And I was like, I think we're going to get that. I think I'm going to shift gears because I'm seeing some nice top 6s and 7s and stuff like that. So, that back table where we saw that one that I wish I remember. I think it was Niagara. That was the table, but I wish I remembered it. But she was so nice, and that's where I saw this really beautiful 6, and that's when I knew. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna shift gears here. And you were like, do it, dude, go for it. That's to make you happy. That's what you said. Make yourself happy. So talking with her, they had a nice 6 listed at $1,800, and I was like, that's nice. Nice price. Nice card. Let's make it happen. I knew what I wanted to pay, and it wasn't 18. I was looking at for like 15 maybe. But yeah, and so we started talking, and I had a little bit of stuff in my bag. But hey, does any of this interest you? And she's like, no, unfortunately, I don't. I had my Hank Aaron, the was it 56? The one that's a 2. But another one, she's like, unfortunately, no, I'm not really interested. And I was like, all right, well, what would you do? Can you work with me a little bit on the price? And she's like, let me talk. I don't think so, but maybe I can. So she got a phone call and she hung up and she kind of looked at me and she's like, unfortunately, I can't. I was just like, at first I was baffled. I'm like, what do you mean you can't? It's a national.
Yeah. I thought the same thing too. I'll let you finish, but I was like, lady, what are you talking about? I was like, let's go. Let's make some moves here.
Let's make magic happen. And then she's like, unfortunately, this is a consignment piece. And I was like, I'm like, okay, so the guy who's not here, but whatever, people want to get what they want to get. I can't fault him, but I was just like, he's not here in the room getting the vibe. And so that's a hobby lesson for everybody. Don't consign and don't bargain. So that didn't work out. But we did have another table. We saw another card at, didn't we?
Yeah. So we, as we were kind of going through again, maybe lap 58 of the show. I don't know. And at this point, Oz is still missing in action.
He's still, where's Oz?
Yeah, when I came back and I seen what went down, I was mad as hell. I was like, damn.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I will say that although we went together, I thought we did a good job of sometimes you need to walk around by yourself, get your thoughts as well, and then come back and get some feedback. Hey guys, what do you think about that too? So yeah, even though we had our hobby crew, I thought we still did a good job of just giving each other the proper amount of space to make. Some of these are big. Most of these are big decisions. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or $1 million. Nobody has money to be thrown away like that. I mean, at least people I know.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So we saw that nice guy. He had that table. It was right around end of the day, 4 o'clock, getting there, and I was like, that's when the heat was on. That's when I'm like, ooh, that's 4 o'clock on my last day, and I don't have nothing in my bag. Ooh, except for a couple of dollar Gretzky Lindros cards. So yeah, we went over there, and I remember him telling me when we stopped the first time, and he was a real nice guy too. Remember what he said? He goes, I asked him when I could see it, and he said to his buddy behind the table, he's like, man, I am getting so tired of getting up and opening this case for that card. So he gave me a price, and he goes, but he's like, I'll tell you what, and he knocked it down a lot right away because I really am done with this card. I don't want to open this case up no more for this card. So I was looking at you, and we were talking, and that's when we walked away then. But that's when we came back, maybe like closer to 5.
Right.
And I was like, I kind of gave it some time, still thinking about it, and that's when I said, I'm back again. I said, I'm going to have you open that case one more. I'm going to open this case 3 more times to make it get more tight, just to drive the price down. So we had a fun talk, and then it just basically it was a PSA Topps 7. So it was on point. And I basically went under the number that he gave me, even after he knocked money off. And he said, yeah, sure. Real quick. Yeah. We walked away. I said to Tone right away, I was like, man, I should have gone even lower. And he goes, I thought the same thing, because I was close to where he was at. I don't want to, peek too behind the curtain, but I don't like doing that. But yeah, it was real close. So I didn't offer much below what he told me initially, but that was still a good discounted price. And based off of comps, I'm already way ahead on the PSA 7 Gretzky. Honestly, I never in a million years thought I'd be sitting on one of them right now. And I mean, I can get it. He's
you might as well flash it up on the screen so everybody can see it on YouTube. But it's super.
So he's sitting real close.
The red mag.
The red mag. But this thing, that Oilers logo is on point. The Edmonton Oilers is on point, and there he is. It's a PSA 7, man. I just like my precious, man. I got the nice red mag. So
a 7.
Yeah. I mean, I just can't. I'm still amazed. And it's, even if I didn't end up walking away with it, National still would have been a blast. But this just is like that. The cream on it, the cherry on the top. You know what I mean? Like, it is so amazing. And just to think that, like I said, having wanted that card since about 1987, 1988, man, I'll tell you what, there's no better feeling right. This week is nothing else can go wrong this week because it doesn't matter.
Is it me, or does, like, when you pick up something like that, you want to, like, Oz always talks about jumping in a DeLorean, but like you want to run back. Like, I don't know, if you could open a door and you go right into your childhood, you go running right, you jump on a bike and you're like, I got it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I feel like it, like, almost like a Stranger Things type thing where you just like going to warp and you're just like, boom, here I am. Like, and you got the card in your hand. So again, I was super happy for you, man. And like I said, that made the ride home all the much better. So
yeah, and it did. And I think that's what helped too. Like we talked about the Wolfpack earlier. Like, you guys were so supportive of the chase, so supportive of the hunt, so supportive of pointing them out, like, or telling me stuff. And I felt like you were just as invested in it as I was, and that meant the world to me. And like I said, that's what's so important. And that's what helped make me feel even easier, like being invested in yours. And sharing this with you guys like that. That's you guys are part of like me getting my grail. So that was really super important, and it's added so much more fun to it.
Yeah, I remember the one time you were kind of, I was like, dude, don't settle, don't, because you could just tell you were like, I'm just gonna buy one just to buy, and I'm like, nah, dude, don't settle. Like it was just
No, and that did help. I did get a little moment of weakness on when I was not finding an O-Pee-Chee that I wanted, and I was like, maybe I'll just get this O-Pee-Chee 3 and whatnot, and I knew there was stuff about it that I didn't like, and and I felt getting the tops wasn't settling as far as I was concerned. I felt that was still just as meaningful. And like I said, I hate sitting and just getting hung up on the number, but for a 1980 card to have a 7 of my idol by hockey, from when I was a kid, outside of a couple of my Flyers, man, he's the GOAT.
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
He's in the argument for GOAT of GOATs.
Yeah. You got your GOAT, and we got rid of our GOAT. both 7s.
Yes, I
know. Yeah, how about that?
I got a 7. I got a 7. You got unloaded a 7. So that was really an amazing experience. And but yeah, I just can't believe it. It still was. Still trying to pinch myself, like
Now, did your wife, did she say anything about it? Did you tell her?
Who? What? No, I just basically put it this way. She wouldn't mind because the money was basically almost play money. But I just don't. She just wouldn't get the grasp understand the concept of that kind of money on a cardboard superhero. And that's fine. I get it, so I know at some point I'll go discuss it, but it's one of those things like she just doesn't. I'll catch a little bit of heat, but just like, you did what? Like well, I don't care that you did it, but like I just don't understand the concept of that. So I buy a a $5 card. She doesn't understand it,
But, my wife, she just purchased her first 50-cent card. You know what I mean? So to her, if I told her how much I spend on these cards normally, she'd be like, flipping.
So. I know. She didn't look around, walk the tables, and see the price tags on there. No.
Well, she sees them, but she doesn't know that I'm spending that.
Yeah. So no, it's good, but. Yeah,
that's crazy. Hey, so Neil, coming down the home stretch here before I kick it to Oz to finish it up like we always do. Let everybody know where they can find you and kind of what you because you say you do the Gretzky thing, but you're a hockey collector as well and other stuff. So just give out where they can find you and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm on Instagram at IrishFlyersCollector. And my PC is like I said, it's Gretzky, Lindros, Pelle Lindbergh. It's my boy, rest in peace for Pelle Lindbergh. And right now, my guy right now, Sean Couturier, he's probably the current player. He's my favorite Flyer. Got the signed jersey up back there in the frame. And so but basically all I do is I just collect those cards. And like I said to you earlier, I'm snagging dollar cards, $2 cards, and I'll get some nice, nice heat. I mean, I've showed you guys plenty of my other pickups, and I'm getting into the RPAs and the, becoming a little snobby with some of them, or on card auto only, but so yeah, those are my PCs. Picking up those guys, but I still love the hobby of hockey card collecting. To me, that's always been my sport. I'm always the hockey guy, and dabbling in the Star Wars with Boba Fett.
Oh yeah. There you go. And I gotta say, man, your IG game is on point, brother. You came in and you just like blew Tony and I away when it comes to IG content. Your stuff. You're always constantly putting, hockey stuff out, and it's always dope. So I gotta give you, high marks for that. I might have to hire you as our full-time Cousins Collectibles.
Thank you. I wasn't sure what to do, because you were actually the one that encouraged me to do it, Oz, if you remember, because I'm like, nobody wants to see what I got. You're like, dude, just make your account, put up the stuff you like, put up the stuff you love. It doesn't matter what people think, like you'll get likes, and I can't believe I've got, 240 some followers. Like,
look at that.
So now I gotta, I'm trying to keep my page on point, got my highlights, and I'm highlighting my stories. And
you posted that GOAT, right?
I did, yeah.
That's gonna get you another 500 quick.
It did, the value of it, yeah. No, that it's funny, dude. I never understand what gets traction on there. Like, I think that had like 30 or 40 likes, and I've got like an old minor league hockey card of Lindros that I just saw the other day, and I keep going, I'm like, man, this thing's still getting likes, and it's like over 90 likes on it. I'm like, to me, that's a big deal.
Yeah,
how is that? Like, but I just appreciate everybody taking a moment to graze their thumb on the heart to like a picture that I took the time to post, and something that's important to me. I think that's cool. That's what I like about it.
Dope. Now we appreciate that, man. Like I said, to have you on board as the third member of the wolf pack, and we can't forget about Corky, because Corky's there as well.
Right.
So Cousins Collectibles runs deep when it comes to that wolf pack, baby, and Danny Boy as well. Danny Boy's the fifth member. So, but yeah, appreciate everything you do for us, man. From fantasy football to now card collecting, life caddy, you name it. Irish Flyers Collector is the man. Make sure you give him a follow. And as always, keep focused, keep positive, and keep collecting. Hey, yo, Tone, bring the beat back.